Hello, folks, and welcome to the new chapter of Revealing Technological Developments. Well, today we have the brains behind this great idea from the Desmidero team, the biologist Paola Ricarte, who is surprisingly an undergraduate at the Universidad de los Andes in Colombia. So, welcome to our show, and please tell us more about this amazing idea. How did you come to it? What was the inspiration or motivation behind this business idea?
Everyone. Well, in a class offered in the university called Deep Sea Exploration, me and some classmates got very interested in the growing attention that is being paid to the deep sea. Previously, scientists thought that with increasing depth, the ocean had less and less life forms due to the extreme conditions. For you to get a picture, there's no light, it's very cold, and the pressure each 10 meters drop 1 atmosphere approximately. But you know what? They were wrong. Recently, with the discovery of hydrothermal vents, cold water seeps, and the complex geography that includes seamounts and underwater canyons, new entire life communities have been discovered. These communities include interactions between organisms and such as sponges, corals, fishes, shrimps, clams, and microorganisms such as viruses or bacteria. Even some strange creatures with individual cells working as a team in the same body called cynosophores. All these organisms have a lot of information that could contribute to basic science, help improve marine conservation programs, and even develop advances in some economic sectors, such as pharmaceutical and biomaterial manufacturing. But a big concern remains in the technology. So we thought, in a way, to boost technological advances in the area. Why not?
That sounds very interesting. Now I get it. You need new ideas to get a better glance at all the possible findings down there. But let me ask you something. Isn't the existing technology good enough? What exploration need would your idea
It's
supply?
amazing. The creation rate of new exploration tools is astonishing. In just a decade, a rapid expansion of novel tools took over and allowed explorers to discover all these findings I told you before. Things such as remote exploration vehicles, pressure resistant sensors, satellite imaging for mapping the ocean floor, and even fluorescence detecting cameras are some examples of it. The thing is, there are always new ways to optimize the experience, you know? In our case, we focus on the possibility to analyze water samples in situ with high efficiency or reduce a significant time lag between sample collections and informative results. In that way, doing this whole process in situ would prevent that increased handling and physicochemical alterations could damage fragile samples like DNA or RNA fragments. This would open a whole possibility of functions such as look for desired genes or maybe untangle microbial metabolisms by measuring RNA in certain ecosystems. You tell me, wouldn't it be awesome if you could actually identify marine taxonomy and also some compounds in the deep sea during the whole dive without having to guess and actually get more accurate information?
Of course, it would be awesome. So let me verify if I understood. What you're trying to develop is technology to process genetic material in situ in the deep sea? That's very ambitious. How exactly this is going to work?
Exactly. That's the kind of technology we're trying to develop. So, as Desmidedo means deep sea microarrays identification tool, Desmidedo would be cataloged as an accessorized for remote operated vehicles, better known as ROV. The accessorized Desmidedo will be installed in one of the ROV sites. It would basically look like a box. Let me show it to you. Okay, so inside of this medium box, there will be two mechanisms for it to work properly. The first mechanisms would be the DNA extraction of a sample. This process is done by a robot that does the process in an automated way. So the main problem taken care of by the robot is separating the DNA from the contaminated substances. And in order to do it, the robot uses a special chemical extraction that contains magnetic particles. These particles bind to the nucleic acids like DNA, so the contaminated substances are removed, and the DNA is ready for the next step of molecular analysis. Now, the second mechanism is about microarray identification. Microarray molecular technology involves an array where nucleic acids are bound to a surface and are used to measure the relative concentration of nucleic acid sequences in a mixture. That in this case would be water sample or tissue sample. Via hybridization and subsequent detection of the hybridization events. To be more precise, after extraction, Desmidedo would pass this extracted DNA to a chamber where different microarray chips would be located. There, each sample is deposited on one chip, which is going to contain known oligonucleotide sequences, mainly specific sequences for all the known deep sea organisms of the area. The sequences will hybridize where there is complementarity, and then there is a wash where all the non-hybridized sequences will vanish. Finally, the chip is transferred next to a scanner where the fluorescence signal is measured, and the scanner, which is connected to the ROV communication, sends the information directly on board. We estimate all the process to last around 40 minutes per sample, and Desmidedo will have a space for 5 samples in the array section. Now, the extraction mechanisms will last 10 minutes, and there is room for just 1 sample per extraction. That means each 10 minutes a sample can be introduced until the array section is full. Then Desmidedo will notify when to introduce another sample. At its maximum, we want the machine to analyze 5 samples per hour, approximately.
The previous explanation about how the product will operate sounded kind of specific. Paola, is there a previous study or gadget that has already developed those mechanisms needed for Desmidedo to work?
The answer is yes. We wanted to bring mechanisms not implemented in deep sea exploration yet, and we wanted to be something actually possible. The first mechanism is already done by the robot called Octopure, as you can see in the image. This robot from LGC Genomics, which is the one that does the automated DNA extraction with SBDX purification kits. And about the second mechanism is going to be involved GenChip, a microarray platform designed by Affmetrix, which has not been used on deep sea before, but is going to be rearranged for the task. In the past, the ESP, Environmental Sample Processor, was developed by MBARI, Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, to provide on-site collection and analysis of water samples from the ocean, identifying the presence of organisms and preserving the samples. The instrument, as it is shown here, was big and constitute an entire vehicle. The idea right now with Desmidedo is that it serves as an accessory for an existing ROV. It would be completely automatized and providing results at the instant, in the moment.
I see. Let me ask you another question. Do you have any investors in mind for Desmidedo? Or which profiles will be included in your team in order to develop the product?
All we have for the moment is the design. The next step is to gather the theme, work to develop the product, which will include deep sea technology. We're talking about pressure-tolerant electrolytes provided by Unmanned Underwater Technology, a company developed by Nick Behem, an engineer with deep sea expertise. Affmetrix, a brand of DNA microarray products sold by Thermo Fisher Scientific and deep sea exploration institutions such as NOAA and Ocean Exploration Trust. Together with these resources, the desired product will be created. All this, as you can imagine, requires a big investment for the creation and initial production line before having actual revenue. For this, we're planning to contact pharmaceuticals, investment sponsors, and a collaboration of planning universities, including Universidad de los Andes, to obtain the initial quota. It's a huge challenging task, but let me confess something. We're not afraid to fail, so we definitely do our best. We'll do our best.
Okay, everything you mentioned sounds pretty interesting, but what about the market Desmidero will reach and what about competitors?
The business will not only consist on selling the product. You'll see, there will be certain tasks that represent a revenue apart from the product price. It's a master idea in which our company is going to provide the users with the product services. I mean, as we're the only ones who actually know the technology details, we're going to be the ones who do the live maintenance and the fixing when the product presents problems. Also, as the race have to be prepared with the oligos previously known, we're going to offer that service to users who don't want to spend time doing the task. Additionally, we're going to offer training courses for the users and for anyone who wants to learn how it works. Initially, for each sold product, a course is given for free, but any other person or second training request will cost an established amount of money. As a part of the key activities of a company, investigation for updated technologies would be very important. The incoming resources from the product, the investments, and other revenue would not only be for gainings, but to do research also on how to innovate and improve the product itself. In addition, another business unit is the outreach group. This section is going to be in charge of seeking out individuals, organizations that have a shared interest in what the company has to offer. We will do conferences and marketing, deep sea symposiums, and some of the revenue will be directed to the accompany marine conservation education in schools and universities too. Look, the best way to spend business is to promote being curious and bring attention to the huge undiscovered things waiting to be found at the deep sea. And regarding competitors, as I mentioned before, there is a lot of interest in new technology to explore the deep sea. However, our idea is very innovative, and from all the research, we concluded anyone has yet thought about anything similar to what we're developing. In fact, it's such an innovation that it seems impossible to accomplish for many people. But as some author I read recently said before, no idea is too big to be conceived, and no goal is too big to be achieved.
Well, I wish you and your team the best in your business, Paola. I think all doubts are clear now, so this is the end of the podcast. Thank you for being here with us, and thanks the audience for being connected. We will see you in the next podcast of Revealing Technological Developments.